In part A, discuss your boss's behavior from an ethical perspective and the impact that this could have on JW Consulting. So guys, there's an and in the required over there. I want you to circle that and so that you make sure you answer both parts of the required. First, you need to discuss your boss's behavior from an ethical perspective. And then after that, you need to discuss the impact that this could have on JW Consulting. So make sure that you answer both parts of the required. Wherever there's an and in the required, circle that and. Then there's 1 mark available for communication skills, and that is awarded for clarity of expression. All right, so let's start with the first part of the required. Let's discuss your boss's behavior from an ethical perspective. All right, and all of that information that we need to discuss is coming from this paragraph over here. So guys, just as a recap, to introduce you to the team, your boss arranged for Friday evening drinks at the office. He overheard you telling one of your new colleagues about your friend Frank, who works for a competitor of JW Consulting. Then obviously your boss had too many drinks and he admitted that he's concerned that your division will not meet their performance targets for the year. So far, everything's okay, although it's probably not appropriate for him to have too many drinks at the office on a Friday evening. So far, everything's fine over there. Then he mentioned, if you can convince Frank to share information relating to some of his clients, he will send you on holiday to his beach house in Cape Town for a week. So let's start with this part first. And let's discuss all of the issues over here. Now, guys, if you go back to the required, this is for 10 marks. So you need to discuss this in detail. So, firstly, you are new. You're a newly qualified chartered accountant, so you're not very experienced in your career yet. You're newly qualified. You don't have a lot of experience, okay? Second, you've also recently been appointed at JW Consulting, so you are new to this company. So obviously, you want to create a good impression. You've just started working here. So what your boss is doing is he's putting you in a very difficult position because you now need to decide, should you act unethically, which you know is wrong. You know by going to your friend and asking your friend to do this, it's wrong, it's unethical. So you need to decide between acting unethically, and you know it's unethical, or not doing it and disappointing your boss, which could obviously have a negative impact on your future career at JW Consulting because you're not helping your boss out over here. So that's what I'm looking for at first. If we jump to the suggested solution over here, you could have said this in one of 2 ways. Either you could have said, he's putting me in a difficult position where I must choose between acting unethically or disappointing my new boss, which could have a negative impact on my future career at JW Consulting. That's one way you could have looked at it. Or alternatively, you could have said something along the lines of the fact that he is taking advantage of the fact that you are newly appointed and also a newly qualified chartered accountant. You could add that there as well. And obviously, you want to make a good impression because you are newly appointed and he is taking advantage of that, which is obviously unethical from his side. So that's the first thing I wanted you to discuss over there, this whole scenario. He's putting you in a terrible position over here. Then, he wants you to convince Frank to share information relating to some of his clients. Obviously, all clients' information is confidential. So he wants Frank to share clients' information, which is confidential. That's obviously unethical. So he wants Frank to share clients' information, which is confidential. In addition to that, if you do this, because he obviously wants to try and persuade you to do this, if you do this, he will send you on holiday to his beach house in Cape Town for a week. So he's obviously trying to bribe you. So that amounts to bribery, which is obviously also unethical. In addition to that, obviously he's worried that your division isn't going to meet their performance target. So he wants the information of the competitor's clients so that he can try and poach those clients. But why doesn't he just put in the hard work necessary to go and find his own clients? How do you grow and build a business? You do a good job through word of mouth. Your existing clients will recommend you to other people. You go and you try and find your own clients, and you get awarded or you enter into contracts with clients based on merit because those clients actually want to be with you. You don't go behind your competitors' back and try and steal their clients. Okay, that's poaching, and that's obviously also unethical. So offering to send me on holiday to his beach house in Cape Town for a week amounts to bribery, and it appears that he wants to poach clients from the competition instead of trying to find new clients to contract with JW Consulting based on merit. Then he suggested that Frank should send through his CV, casually adding that he will override any company policies to ensure Frank is made an offer on more lucrative terms than his current position. Okay, so we have a lot of ethical problems over here as well. So he obviously also wants to make this lucrative to Frank so that Frank shares this confidential client's information with you so that you can pass it on to your boss. So this is his way of trying to entice Frank or bribe Frank. So this obviously also amounts to bribery over here. But what we really need to focus on is the fact that he's prepared to override any company policies. So he says, tell Frank to send me his CV and he will override any company policies to ensure that he's made an offer. So I will make sure that Frank is given a job. So he's going to override the company policies without getting proper approval for the appointment. He's going to give Frank a job. Now, we don't even know if a vacancy actually exists. And the fact that the division is probably not going to meet their performance targets for the year means a vacancy probably doesn't exist. So it looks like he's creating a vacancy for this purpose so that he can obviously try and convince Frank to share confidential clients' information so that he can poach those clients. Then in addition to that, let's assume that a vacancy does exist. If a vacancy does actually exist, this isn't how you find new employees. You obviously need to advertise the position, you need to collect CVs, you need to conduct interviews, etc., so that you appoint the best person for the job. He doesn't even know Frank. He doesn't know Frank's qualifications. He doesn't know anything about Frank. How does he know that Frank's going to do a good job and provide value or give value to the clients of JW Consulting? That's not how you conduct, or that's not how you appoint new people. So that's also obviously concerning. And the fact that he's going to make an offer on more lucrative terms than his current position, I mean, he doesn't even know what Frank currently earns or what his salary package is or anything. So he's just making these statements and saying he'll make all of these offers and everything, which obviously is not going to be in line with the company policy, because there'll be company policies in terms of if you come in at this level, this is the salary you get, these are the terms of your employment, and he's just going to override all of that and just make sure that the offer that he makes Frank is more lucrative. Obviously, all of this is completely unethical. And I really hope you never find yourself in a position where you have a boss like this. All right, so firstly, he plans to offer Frank a job without obtaining proper approval for the appointment. Then it's unlikely that a vacancy exists if the division is not meeting their performance targets. So it looks like he is creating a position especially for this purpose. In addition to that, if a vacancy does actually exist, he is not following due process to ensure that the best candidate for the job is appointed. So he's not advertising the position, reviewing CVs, conducting interviews, etc. He knows nothing about Frank. And he's also prepared to offer Frank employment on terms which are not approved or in line with company policy. All right, guys, so that deals with the first part of the required. Discuss your boss's behavior from an ethical perspective. Now you need to discuss the impact that this could have on JW Consulting. So firstly, if JW Consulting's competitor becomes aware of this, they might take legal action against JW Consulting. So that's obviously one implication. In addition to that, if the clients of the competitor become aware that their confidential information is being shared, they might also pursue legal action against JW Consulting. So that's the first impact that you need to discuss. This could result in legal action from the competitor company and or from their clients. Then in addition to that, obviously, if any of this comes to light, it's going to cause reputational damage for JW Consulting. This is terrible conduct. So what is the result of the reputational damage? It could result in loss of clients, which obviously he's already worried about not meeting performance targets. So that's going to have a negative impact on the financial position of the company. So it could lead to financial losses if they lose out on if they lose clients. In addition to that, if all of this comes to light, they might lose employees, and they might also struggle to find good employees in the future, because who wants to work for a company like this, and who wants to work under conditions like this? This is a terrible position that your boss is putting you in. And linked to that, I already touched a little bit on the financial loss, because if they lose their clients, that will obviously result in financial loss. But obviously, if the competitor company or their clients take legal action, there'll be legal costs, which would have financial implications for JW Consulting. And in addition to that, if the court cases result in JW Consulting having to pay damages, that could also result in financial loss. Okay, so it could cause reputational damage, resulting in loss of clients and employees, or they may struggle to find good employees in the future. And this could also all result in financial loss because of the legal costs associated to the legal action, because of the loss of clients, and also if the legal action results in the payment of damages. All right, guys, especially with everything that's going on in the profession at the moment, a lot of unethical conduct, which really is by the minority of chartered accountants, but is really painting everybody in a very bad light. It's very disappointing for everybody who is trying to do the right thing. So obviously, because of everything that's going on, ethics is really a hot topic at the moment. It's in SAICA papers, it's in your UNISA papers, because guys, they're trying to obviously make sure that this stuff doesn't happen again, okay? There's always going to be bad people. Even if they're chartered accountants, doesn't matter what your profession is, there's always bad people, and there's always people who will make the wrong decisions because somehow they have some financial gain. Normally, that's the reason why they do it. But guys, if I can say anything here is just do the right thing. Obviously, this is important in your papers and your tests if you want to pass and stuff, but also one day when you're qualified, just do the right thing. If you find yourself having to justify something, remember, everybody that does something unethical always has a justification behind why they're doing something unethical. If you find yourself trying to justify it, that doesn't make it right. It's not a gray area, guys. It's black and white. There's good ethical CAs and there's rubbish unethical CAs. And we really don't need any more of the rubbish, unethical ones. If we want to uphold the CA profession, and we need to, you guys want to get jobs as chartered accountants, we need to make sure we uphold the name of the profession if we all want to be able to be recognized as chartered accountants in this country. So it's very important that we all uphold the profession, we do the right thing. So, yeah, okay. Hopefully a couple of years from now, if you're faced with an ethical dilemma, you remember one of these things and just do the right thing. It's not always the thing that's going to make you rich, but when you put your head on your pillow at night, you can sleep without a guilty conscience. It's much better, guys. Do the right thing. Pay your taxes when your taxes are due. Treat people fairly. Do the right thing. All right, that's my little spiel over there. But that answers part A of the required.